What weird childhood fear do you still kind of hold on to? That my stuffed animals get sad when I don't pay attention to them. I'm 23. I just purchased a giant stuffed llama because he has a rip and I felt bad that nobody else might buy him and he would feel unloved. I'm 23 and have no room for a giant stuffed llama. Whenever the washing machine gets too loud I think it will explode. When I put too much in it and it starts shaking I sit on top of it to try and stop the movement and I will sit there panicking until it finally finishes its cycle. I'd like to mention I'm a male and do not use the washing machine as a vibrator. Lol. That sensation that something is chasing you in the dark. Usually when I'm at home alone. I don't know what it is, I just know that it's coming for me. Usually when I have to turn off downstairs lights, I still run up the stairs to safety as quickly as possible. Dolls. My sister had this one that used to talk and it had a creepy light in its chest. I swear it used to start talking by itself. I remember finding it talking one day in my wardrobe, and I had no idea how it got there. In hindsight it was probably my brother being an butthole, but at the time I was convinced it was haunted or something. I was terrified and didn't want it anywhere near my room, so I flung it down the stairs. Even now I find dolls creepy as crap. If you hadn't mentioned dolls, I would have thought you were talking about a Furby. Ever since the Monsters Inc. movie came out, I've always had my closet door open a little bit so they can't use their teleportation doors. I would pour sharp objects on the ground in front of the closets to prevent their crawling. Going out in the dark outside. Most of the time, it doesn't bother me. However, there are some nights where it just starts gnawing at the back of my mind, even though I know the chance of anything happening is slim to none and I scurry to and from where I need to go. Me and my friends were dumb back in the day and the woods around our neighborhood were super dense in the summer. We decided to camp out in the woods. As like 12-year-olds, crap was terrifying. Absolute silence broken up by snapping of twigs slowly approaching the tent. Looking out the windows at night, I'm petrified that there will be someone there. I had a horrible nightmare when I was 14, where I was in my bathroom and I could see in the mirror a horrible lady watching me by the window. When I turned around to check she was gone, but as soon as I looked away I knew she was at the window again. I'm 27 and I'm still terrified of this. There was a line in a Goosebumps book about a monster eating your toes while you slept. Bothered me enough as a kid that I still can't sleep with my toes poking out of the blanket. I'm 32. I know that the thing under my bed doesn't exist, but I also know that if I keep my feet under the blanket, it won't grab my ankle. Stephen King. A killer hiding behind the shower curtain. I've always had a weird fear of windows, especially when it's dark out and you can't really see through them from the inside of a house. Started when I was really young and we had a huge window right at the front of the house and anyone outside could see the entire living room. My friends and I used to fight not to sleep near the living room windows at sleepovers because of this. Basements. They still give me the creeps. Especially dark, unfinished basements. Yikes. I'm still kinda scared of escalators. My husband makes fun of me for it, but I'm scared something is going to get caught on them. Years ago, my sister had Crocs on and an escalator sucked up the Croc and almost got her foot. I'm still scared of escalators. Mirrors in the dark. When there's no sounds, not even the ambience of say a highway or a fan blowing, just utter silence. Even to this day, when I'm in a setting like that, I just start singing loudly and poorly. Just get tinnitus noob. That if there is a chair in my room and I open my eyes in the dark, someone will be sitting there. Never considered this and now slightly creeped out. I knew piling clothes onto my chair had a purpose. Knowing my parents will die one day. This is the realistic fear that still gets me really panicky. Drowning, suffocation, any death by lack of air. I grew up with asthma and it sucks. Same here. I even get problems with scarves or basically anything touching my neck. I mean I can wear them, but I generally dislike the feeling. I'm terrified of answering the door if I'm not expecting anyone. When I was a small child, maybe 5 or 6, We lived in a really rough neighborhood. One day, my parents dragged my siblings and I away from our toys in the living room and forced us to hunker down in the hall for the better part of an hour as someone banged on our door as if they were trying to tear it down. I didn't get what was going on at the time and thought that maybe the person would go away if we just answered the door, but my parents refused. It wasn't until later that my mom told me it was a drunk man knocking on our door. Not too scary, right? Well, it turns out that we had a bottle of lighter fluid outside right next to our grill and this guy had tried to set our door on fire to either get in, smoke us out, or just burn the apartment down with us inside. Thankfully, the bottle was empty and the guy eventually gave up and left, but even now at 20, I instinctively freeze up and refuse to answer the door unless I'm wearing shoes to make an escape, my keys, my phone, and have a weapon of some sort within reach in the event that things go south. While I know that the chances of something like that happening again are slim, I just can't shake the fear that I'll be too trusting one day and open the door for someone who intends to harm me. Okay, so hear me out. I had a recurring nightmare as a child that I had a nightmare and had to walk to my parents' room. When heading to their room, wolves would jump out of our boiler closet and eat me, so waking up from that nightmare I would sit in bed as opposed to going to my parents' room as I was too scared. Still to this day, when getting up to the bathroom at night, I think something will jump out from behind a door and murder me. I had a recurring nightmare as a child that I had a nightmare. I hate these situations in general. Sometimes my dreams go so many layers deep that even once I have woken up, I'm unsure if I actually have. Opening a can of biscuits. I fear the pop. If no one is around to do it for me, I cope by whacking the container hard into the corner of the countertop to force pop it on my own terms. To muffle the sound, I contort my neck sideways to press one ear hard against my shoulder and plug the other ear with my finger. I also close my eyes. Not sure why. I've been told I look like I'm having a seizure. I'm convinced this will be how I die. I'll be 84 years old, living alone with my yippy little dog. I'll pop the biscuits, have a heart attack, and I'll be found a week later with my dog Haven eating my face. Getting lost, being alone and not being able to find my way home, based purely on a nightmare I had as a kid after moving to a new house. I am afraid of the pressure cookers, especially when they whistle out the steam. The story is, it was my birthday and we were cooking goat meat and the whistle got blocked and it was kinda like a bomb from there. My friend's mom was injured heavily when one of the pressure cooker exploded, so I had a bit of fear already. The fact that I could have died on my birthday gave me a mental scar forever. Heights, stairs, loud noises, dad, a monster in the toilet. Hol up. A bug crawling into my ear while I sleep. I have pest control and still sleep with my scarf covering my ears or the cover. Being homeless. Happy cake day. Always be hopeful. Getting to my room and into bed as fast as freaking possible after turning the lights off. I can't let the nightman get to me. Sounds like you need some sort of champion of the sun. Every now and then, I'll wake up stressed because I forgot to do my homework study for the big test. Same. I'm not in education anymore, so it's unrealistic, but I will have nightmares that I haven't been to class all year and it's the day of the final exams. The deep parts in pools. I swear there is a giant octopus shark waiting to eat me. I somehow misread this as deep sharks and thought, oh yes, we've all heard of some kid pooping in a pool. The deep sea scared me too with all the creatures out there. I was about 4 and was with my grandmother shopping one night. It was store closing time, and a cashier made the comment, any later, and we would have to lock you in and keep you. I always get edgy when a store is closing, despite having worked in retail a number of times over the years. This actually happened to me. I was with my dad and we got locked in a department store by accident when they closed. We were running around trying all the doors until we finally found one that hadn't been locked yet. My dad was starting to get a bit panicked. Sleep paralysis. That happens to me when I'm super stressed out. I always see the same man wearing a wide-brimmed hat trying to get to me. Horrible, horrible feeling not being able to scream or move. Digging through this thread, I'm getting crazy scared of things I haven't thought about in such a long time. Help. Those dang chickens. Terrors that flap in the night. poor quality surfboards. Growing up surfing as a kid, I was told by butthole older kids that sharks are attracted to real McCoys, which are like the generic name brand for blue foam surfboards for beginners that you kinda start out on as a kid. So every time I paddled out I was looking for sharks. Then I finally got a real board for my 9th birthday and thought I was invincible. But whenever I see a kid's foam board, sharks. Kind off topic, but I can't believe the generic brand had the audacity to name themselves the real McCoys. None of them. In childhood, health seemed guaranteed. At age 66, different story. The monsters in the pool. I still can't go under for long before I feel like there is something trying to get me. Driving on mountain roads. Especially when another car is riding your butt. That aliens, greys, still watch me and visit me while I sleep. Recently found my old journal from preschool. I would draw a picture and narrate my drawing. Teacher would write what I said. Every single day, I wrote about hanging out with aliens. I remember being obsessed with aliens as a kid, but I'm surprised no one was concerned. Car windows. Okay, let me explain. So when I was 5, I loved to draw on the car windows of my brother's car with my finger because it was winter and the windows got all foggy. Apparently he didn't like that I was leaving fingerprints on the windows, so he told me that the chemicals on the windows would make my fingers fall off. I was mortified and I never touched a car window ever again. I even traumatized my friends by telling them. Even to this day, I cannot touch a car window without awkwardly wiping my hand off on my shirt. Thanks Gia, you scarred me. AWW no, you must have been dead scared. This reminds me of the episode of Arthur where DW eats a green potato chip and Arthur and Buster let her overhear that they are dangerous and can kill you, to get back at her. Whenever I use the basement bathroom in my house I still run up the stairs at full speed after turning off the lights. I don't do demons. We had rusty pipes in the bathtub in our old house. The water would run red and brown for about a minute before clearing. I'm still afraid that blood is going to come out of my faucets and shower. As a kid when home alone I always heard one of my parents calling my name when I'm well aware they weren't home. It eventually got the point where I would jump when I heard my name loudly sometimes. If you sneak up on me and say my name to try and scare me, I will hold a grudge because that scares the crap out of me. Am I the only one who had this issue of hearing your name from someone you know isn't home? Apparently this is a thing the brain does sometimes. It remembers a similar situation where you're used to hearing your name called and kind of replays that. That I am going to be abducted by aliens, or that if I go to my car alone at night, I am going to have my Achilles tendon sliced by a carjacker and be left to bleed to death. Getting stuck in quicksand. If my parents told me they would be home at 10 PM and they weren't home by 10:15 PM, I would assume they had an accident and were dead. I'm 42 and still have this ridiculous fear. It's not necessarily about my parents anymore but more friend's partner. Oh man. Same. I called the police a few times asking if there had been any accidents with cars matching the description of my mom's. She was maybe 10 minutes late coming home from work. Being an anxious kid is no fun. I can't bring myself to look at my reflection in the dark just in case Bloody Mary is there. My dad is bipolar and unmedicated. I still have nightmares about my own manic mother from childhood trauma. If there isn't a sub for kids of bipolar parents, there should be. You have been visited by the Holy Doggo. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.